Well, leading up to Edmonton, I had up and down season actually, and I remember trying to get things right. I was running well, and then when I get to the eighth hurdle, my steps were off. And we finally figured it out. I remember about 3 weeks out in Monaco, and I won Monaco on 48.6, I believe, and then I went to London where I ran the 47.95, tying the world lead of Angelo Taylor. And it just was a matter of it clicking. And once it clicked, I was already confident enough that I could run with all those guys. I obviously knew Powell, and I'd raced Rodrigo, and I'd never seen the Moroccan kid, and I didn't pay much attention to him. And then when we start off the race, and I'm like, man, he is really running his first round. And you have to take in consideration I didn't have a lot of experience running rounds at a world championship. So my last championships were the Olympics, where because of maybe this time of the season, because of the wind that day, there were rounds running 49, 50 at the Olympics. So to have to run 48 to make it out the first round was a shock. But I had in mind, obviously, to win every round and set myself up for the final. So I distinctly remember in this race having to run a lot harder than I thought. I went out aggressive, and then I had planned to settle in and just let the race develop. So I really didn't get to shut it down until the last 15 meters. And I had, in my mind, planned it out after 8 to just relax. Honestly, being honest, I just wanted to get a medal. I was happy to be there. You have to take in consideration my first world championship was Seville, and I got out in the first round. And then my next major championship was the Olympics, and I got to the semifinal. So I was like, okay, just get to the final, and maybe we can medal, because it's the only way you can medal is getting to the final. So the plan was to get to the final and then see what happens. So I was not going there with the intention to win, or I had to win. But obviously you dream of those moments. But the plan was just to make the final and be in a good position to medal. I went back, showered, ate, relaxed, just the norm, really, just staying relaxed. It didn't take much out of my legs. I felt ready. I felt fresh still. I was anxiously waiting to see who was going to be in my semifinal. And I remember seeing Daita Masui's name, and I was excited at the same time a little worried, because I knew his strategy and the way he runs is like kamikaze. He just goes for it. So I knew it was going to be a very similar situation from the prelim, me having to run pretty much more than I wanted to. It's always nice to when you run a round or a semi and you can shut it down a hurdle or two, or even after the last hurdle. But I knew that was not going to be the case with him in that race. Again, the mission is to catch the guy outside of me and try not let die catch me too fast. I lived it, but I never got to see it again. But I remember, wow. He was really out there. He was really moving. That was one of the few times that someone had passed me on the inside. I'm usually the one passing. And when I came off 8, I saw him, and I knew he had a big lead. So I just was trying not to press too much, not to hit any hurdles, and just be patient, because I knew he was going to come back to me eventually. But yeah, I couldn't relax at all. I had to run all the way to the line, and it leaned and everything. It was really important. You can see there, it was really important that I won, because maybe later on in my career I would have just let him win and just deal with the lane draw. But for me, I had a goal, and it was to win every round for the first round in the semifinal. We were in the on the day off in passing from the eating the dining hall, and I pass uh, Fabrizio, and he comes up to me, Sanchez, a lot of pressure, you're looking good. And I was like, there's no pressure for me. I was like, you're the world champ, I'm nobody. And he just looked at me like, what? um, and I feel like maybe that was an attempt to kind of rattle me, and I kind of just I think I played it well, and and the race was amazing, honestly. When I look back at that race, I've seen it a lot of times. .05, I don't know where I got .05, but I knew he was coming, but I don't know how he didn't pass me. Like I watched the race and how did he not pass me? I was so relaxed here. It was to be my first world final. I was shockingly relaxed. I didn't even see the time. I just was shocked that he didn't pass me, and I was like, I'm world champion. I ended up seeing the final time 200 meters into the victory lap when I saw my high school coach, and he screamed the time, and I was like, what? And I looked at the board, and that's when I saw the 49, and I was like, how did I run that fast? What? Yeah, I was like, man, you're a hard runner. A lot of people dream to be world champion, but to actually do it, it's a special feeling. Being realistic, hindsight, I had no chance to making that final in Sydney, but it was a goal of mine to make the final Olympic Games, and I didn't make the final, so it was corny, but like clothing ceremonies, they give us these bracelets, and we're part of the clothing ceremonies. There's a point where we have to switch it on, and lights go off, and you see all the athletes with their red flashing bracelets. I go back home, and I'm upset, and I'm like, I don't know, maybe track isn't for me, like blah blah blah. It should maybe go back to school. And I'm just frustrated, and now I had to find another coach, so I'm like, I don't know what I'm gonna do with my life. And in that transition, I kind of like, okay, I'm gonna give it one more year. I'm gonna train, but I used it as like a reminder, just something that every race, I don't want to feel that feeling again. I want to be reminded that the goal is to make the final and not to come up short. And I trained hard, and I got to the World Championship final, and obviously then it kind of transitioned to, okay, I want to go to the next Olympics. It went beyond like, okay, I'm gonna give it 1 year. I was like, okay, I'm world champion. Okay, this is gonna work out. Let's refocus and let's make this happen and make that journey to Athens, so we can take the bracelet off. And then it kind of got gimmicky. But it was still that reminder, even though, 2 years in, 3 years in, I'm still undefeated, but it was still like, okay, let's not lose focus. The goal is get back to the Olympic Games and make the final, and obviously to win it. So, that's the backstory. It was just something as a reminder, and then it came part of the package. I think Paris was more special. Just because, again, like winning one is hard, but winning two is even more difficult. And then I was in a situation there where I felt no pressure. I had just come from the Pan Am Games in 2003. We're in Santo Domingo, a packed stadium. I was under extreme pressure there. And I remember getting to Paris, and I was like, oh, this is a cakewalk. There's no stress here. I felt that my toughest competition might have been the Brashan Jackson, because he was an up and comer. But something happened and he didn't. He got DQ'd, a hurdle violation, I believe, in the first or second round. So then it just went to, okay, it's just you mode. And I remember going to the final. It was raining. I was glad I was in. I think I was like lane 5 because in Staliné, the roof, it falls like right on lane 4, in the middle of lane 4. So if it rains, you feeling drops on your on your on your head. And I was glad I was in 5 because that means my lane is dry. So I was happy that I had that lane draw. I saw the field and I was just like, there aren't guys here that can go 47.5. So it was me against the clock, literally, and I said, okay, let's just go for it and see what happens. If chances are I don't make it, or I make a mistake or hit a hurdle or go out too fast, I feel like I could still win it running 48 low. But the mission was to go for it, and I literally, I went out the first 3 hurdles probably harder than I had ever. I tell my athletes, like, run your heart out, because you never know when your PR race is gonna be like the last time you run that fast. And yeah, I never got any faster. I tried the next week to going 14, coming home, tried a different, like, okay, and I ended up running 48.6 in Rieti. So that was clearly not the recipe. But yeah, I was in great shape. I felt great. I went for it and came up a little short from the record and really short from the world record, but 2-time world champion. It felt good. It felt good.